Picking up where we left off, workbook page 59, number 5. So we talked about on the first part some equivalent expressions. We could have v minus 1200ths v, and then actually if you simplify that would be 8800ths v. Part B says use the expressions to describe another way to find the new acreage. So another way, basically what we could do is just say, it decreased by 12%. So if we had 100% and we decreased by 12%, then we'd have 88%. And then we could write that as 8800ths v. Okay? Just finding 88% of the original acreage is what we're doing there. Number 7, Cole orders 4 bags of salted potato chips, 3 bags of sour cream and chive potato chips, and 2 bags of barbecue potato chips. Cole finds the cost using the expression 4x plus 3x plus 2x, where x is the cost of 1 bag of chips. So apparently the chips each cost the same amount. Explain a more efficient way to use an expression to work out the cost. So a more efficient way would be that we could combine those together, and that would be the same as 9x. Basically, we've got 9 bags. They all cost the same amount. Let's just do 9x instead of 4 times a number, and then 3 times a number, and then 2 times a number, and then adding them together. Okay, this would be a lot quicker way of doing that. If we go to number 8, Alexander is building a rectangular pen in his backyard for his dog. The pen will have a length of 13 feet, width of 2x feet. Which expression represents the total amount of fencing needed for the pen, and select all that apply. Highly recommend, when you guys are doing a problem like this, that you actually draw a rectangle. I know you know what a rectangle looks like, but actually visually having it to look at is going to be maybe helpful for you to come up with the correct answer. So if we draw this out on our picture, length is 13 feet. Length generally would be the bigger dimension, and the width is 2x. So total amount of fencing needed. So actually there are a couple of answers that would work here. One option you might think of just adding the sides, so 2x plus 13, 2x plus 13. And then you can combine your x's together. You can combine your 13s together. That'd be 4x plus 26, which would be the third option. If you notice, when we wrote it that way, we had a 2x plus 13 and we had another 2x plus 13. Kind of the idea here is kind of like in a rectangle. We have 2 L shapes that are identical. We have this L, and then the other L would be the same as that. So that would be another way that would actually match up with the last answer choice there, 2x plus 13s. And those are the only 2 that actually work out of the group there. Number 9, a customer at a craft store is buying a blank canvas and a set of brushes. The customer has 2 coupons. One coupon is valid for 35% off all canvases. The other is valid for 20% off the entire purchase. Customer can only use 1 coupon. That's usually the case. So let C represent the original price of the canvas, and B represent the price of the set of brushes. So part A, they want us to write 2 expressions that represent the 35% off all canvases coupon. So for part A, 2 expressions that represent the 35% off all canvases coupon, we would have our canvas cost is C, and then 35% off of our canvas, so minus 3,500 C, and then plus our brush costs. That would be one expression we could have. Another expression would be just by simplifying. So that C is the same as 1C. And then these are like terms that we can combine. So 1 minus 35 hundredths. If you work that out, you'd be doing some borrowing there. But anyway, that would come out as 65 hundredths C plus B. In other words, if it's 35% off, basically we're going to pay 65% of what the original cost was. Similar option to start out with would be if you know you're going to be doing 1 minus 35 hundredths, and then whatever that is times the C and then plus B. That'll come out to be the same thing. So one option on part B, 20% off the entire purchase, would be C would be the cost of the canvas minus 20% of C, and then plus we have the cost of our brush, which would be B, and then minus 20 hundredths times B. That's our 20% off of our brush costs. Okay, that would be one option that we could look at starting with. Another option, just going off of that one, is that we could simplify this. So if you combine your C's together, that would be 80 hundredths C, or just 8/10 C, and then 80 hundredths plus 80 hundredths B, or just 8/10 B. So basically, if we're getting 20% off, we're paying 80% of each of those options. Okay. Another option similar to that would be that we're paying 80% of whatever the total cost is. So 80 hundredths times the quantity C plus B. In other words, add your costs together, then take 80% of that. And if you think of that, actually, you could think of it as distributing. We would end up actually with what we just had right before that. Another option would be to say, let's add C plus B. That would have been our original cost. And then let's subtract 20% of the combined costs. Okay, so actually several different options that we've got. But basically it boils down to the simplified version would be probably, we could say 80 hundredths times C, or plus 80 hundredths times B. Or you could argue this as being kind of simplified, because that's allowing you to add the costs together first and then multiply by a decimal, instead of multiplying by a decimal, multiplying by a decimal, and then adding. It's less multiplying by decimals if you just add the numbers together first. So if we look at part C, now they're going to actually give us some costs here. If the original cost of the canvas is $12 and the set of brushes is $16, which option would be the better choice? So if we got 35% off the canvas, if we go back up to what we had basically, this was our simplified expression. So if the canvas was $12 and the brushes were $16, if you multiply, that would be $7.80 plus 16 is $23.80. So $23.80 if we got the 35% off the canvas. If we got 20% off the entire purchase, again, you could argue actually that it's easier maybe to add those costs together and then take that times 8/10 or 80 hundredths. So 12 and 16, you could actually add those together if you want, because we know those are both numbers. We don't have to distribute it. And then if you multiply that out, is $22.40. So actually a little bit better deal if we get 20% off the entire purchase in this case. So this gives you an idea of how to analyze equivalent expressions.